meeting of July 23rd to order. It is 6:05. We will start with a roll call of the commissioners. So far, we have Commissioners Gore, Engelbrett, Bradley, and Fry present. I do not see our councilmember Wiesner online, and Andy Plumley is not online either. Nor is Kevin Wilson. Do we need motions to excuse them, or should we? Okay, perfect. Sounds good. Our next item on the agenda is approval of minutes for both the May 28th meeting and the June 25th meeting. I will give y'all a little bit of time to review those, and if we have any questions. Otherwise, I will take a motion to. Otherwise, I will take a motion to approve the May 28th minutes first. Yeah.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the May 28th minutes.
Okay. Moved by Bradley, seconded by Gore. All in favor? Okay, motion passes unanimously. Okay, and moving on to the June 25th regular business meeting minutes. Give you all a second to review those if you haven't yet. Otherwise, take some motion. Okay. Okay. Moved by Fry and seconded by Gore. All those in favor? All right, motion passes unanimously. Okay. Third item on the agenda is our public comment period. So during this time, residents may comment on subjects of interest not on the agenda or agenda items. To ensure comments are recorded properly, state your name clearly. Individual comments will be limited to 3 minutes to ensure maximum participation during this 15-minute time frame allotted. Public comments may also be submitted online at www.oakharbor.gov/public comment at least 2 business days in advance of the meeting. We had several comments that were made online, and they will be displayed on our screens. I believe so. Most of them are pertaining specifically to the parks and those discussion items. Okay. Do the commissioners have any questions about any of the public comments made? Would that be appropriate to talk about?
But it's not a public conversation, it's just information. Well, staff can take it under advisement. We're not here to respond to any questions you might have, but you can sure ask a question and staff will look into it.
I was not here for the May meeting when a lot of this first came up, and I don't know if anybody has told us why specifically the city council wants to take the vote at.
So yeah, we're not here to respond to that. It's not a public item tonight. It's just public comment, and we can sure respond, certainly in due course. And this is already a public hearing that's going before the city council.
Before this council,
The city council,
the city council,
right.
so it doesn't come to us at all.
This item does not come to the planning commission.
It's a change in an ordinance, but it doesn't come to us.
Right, it's not an ordinance that the planning commission deals with. This is a separate section of code, Title I, which is only a city council-driven code section. It's not a land use code. Sir?
Yeah, just a real quick question. So all these public comments were directed towards the planning commission. Do they, obviously, I think they would get shared with city council as well, correct?
Right, the reason we're sharing these with you tonight is they checked all, people that submitted these comments checked all the boxes. So every commission that was submitted to have to show these comments by rule. And so we do that, but technically this is only going in front of the city council to decide.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
But
All right, very good. So for the record, Chair Plumley has joined virtually. Andy, if you are willing and able to run the meeting, I will hand it over to you. Otherwise, I can keep on keeping on, depending on what you want to see happen.
Well, first, I apologize for my tardiness, but I think it's best if you run it there. That'll be easier than doing it remotely.
Okay, sounds good. All right, so moving on to our fourth item. This item is reserved for public hearings that would come before the Planning Commission. This agenda has no meetings or no hearings for us to hear. So I will be moving on to our agenda item 5. So agenda item 5, we have 3 items that are discussion, action, and presentation related. The first is selection of our vice chair. That was previously vacated, and we are currently without one. So, Mr. Cool, I would appreciate some guidance on how to navigate that, but I'll turn it over to you.
Sure, thank you, Mr. Chairman. All you need to do is take nominations from the floor. So anyone that wants to nominate any other planning commissioner can do so. It requires a second from anybody else. And then we'll take as many nominations as you want. And then once there's no more nominations, then you hold a vote. And each of you vote on the one candidate that you want to be vice chairman.
Okay. Are there any nominations for vice chair?
I'd like to nominate Councilman Engelbrecht.
I'll second that.
Okay. We have one nomination for council member or Commissioner Engelbrecht, moved by Bradley, seconded by Fry. Are there any others? Okay. Hearing none, I will move on to the
You want to
vote.
take a vote?
Yes, we'll take a vote. So all those in favor for appointing Commissioner Engelbrecht for vice chair, say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carries unanimously. Excellent. Yay. Okay,
Congratulations.
thank you. Okay, our next discussion action presentation item is our 2025 Major Comprehensive Plan Update. This is presented by our principal planner, Kat Kamak. Take it away.
Good evening. Kat Kamak, Principal Planner, here to present a short presentation on the 2025 major update to the comprehensive plan. This is a topic of discussion here at the Planning Commission and City Council for a few months. As you're aware, we hired a consultant. We got grants from the Department of Commerce to update our comprehensive plan and add a climate element, which is a requirement from the state. So the work is underway, and the consultants are doing a lot of analysis on our existing documents, and we are trying to get a lot of this information in front of the Planning Commission and City Council and move this in a timely manner. But just wanted to share with the Commission some of the documents that the consultant has put together for us in order to share with the public in terms of how we're going to move forward on the comprehensive plan, kind of get a better understanding of the framework, because it's such a big project. The comprehensive plan has many issues, has many elements, and then we have a lot of required updates from the state, and we have to balance all of this as we do the update. So it's good to have a kind of an overall understanding of how we're going to approach this. And that's what these documents that are attached to your report kind of try to convey. They are initial and they're draft, and we have them on the website, and we'll keep changing them and amending them, especially the schedule will get amended as we go through this process, and I'll kind of go through that and tell you why we'll probably consider some changes. So they're all tentative at this point. As in any project, they evolve as we go, and we'll try and keep the Commission informed as best as possible as we go through the update and consider the changes. So without further ado, I will jump right in. The three documents that we have attached to the report is the project charter, the community engagement plan, and the project schedule. I'll go over each one of them, and then we'll have a discussion, any questions and comments on them. So the project charter. So what is this document? This is basically a communication and project management document. So we have a consultant team, they have staff, and we have our planning staff and city staff here. How do we communicate and how do we move this project forward? This document kind of contains this framework by which we'll use to operate. It talks about the approaches, outcomes, and deliverables of the project, how public input will be gathered, how we meet local and state requirements, how we balance the state law and community vision. There are a lot of requirements, as I said, from the state law, but locally there may be preferences. How do we balance that out? All of that will be kind of discussed and assessed as we go through this update process. We also have acronyms there, just try to limit the space: Community Engagement Plan, CEP, land capacity analysis. We'll go, as I mentioned, we'll have a new element for the climate resilience. We'll have a new capital facilities plan, we'll have SEPA analysis, and there's a list of other documents that are listed in the charter documents. So it kind of talks about the framework and what we can expect from our consultants as we go through this update. It also has a work plan related to the climate update. It talks about the project team work plan. How do we work through the issues with staff and the consultants? We have bi-weekly meetings, we have issue-related meetings, we have work meetings. We have at least 3 or 4 meetings with the consultants every week. So we're kind of going through and looking at the documents and already starting to kind of get a grasp of the issues that lay ahead. A lot of coordination with the county. So it's a fairly big project. And so we have these documents laid out so that we know the roles and responsibilities of city staff and of the consultant, and who has what tasks and who are the lead for. We have even names associated with these tasks and leads, so we have people moving these projects forward. How is project coordination done and decision-making done within the organization, and how does it get in front of the public in terms of Planning Commission and City Council? What are the expectations and keys to success? So, what does the end comprehensive plan look like? What are some of the key things? And we've listed them. We would like to get a document that's consistent with the county. We'd like to get something of an implementable document, so not that is lofty. Of course, we'll have policies and goals that are far visioning. However, we want to have something that's very implementable. And what are the project risks? What are the potential hiccups that can happen? Coordination with the county. This is always when you have another agency, public agency that you work with. They have their own systems, and we have our own systems. We have to coordinate with each other, and that's not always easy. Timeline and schedules. We have to sync our comp plan with the county's comprehensive plan update as well. So we don't want to be too ahead or behind because we have similar maps, we have similar interests. We're sharing housing allocations, population allocations. We want to make sure that we're consistent with each other, so our documents will depend on each other. As I mentioned, the UJ population allocation housing targets, you're all aware of the housing allocation and the challenges, so that's definitely something that we identify as a risk, and how do we work through that. The impacts of growth on the community. We've already heard back from a lot of people on, what is going to happen to the transportation, what's going to happen to our utilities when we consider this growth. So all of these are great challenges. How do we try and mitigate them? We try and mitigate them with project messaging. We try to get as much information out as possible, and I'll talk about it a little bit in our community engagement plan. And so how do we engage the community and keep them informed? How do we involve them? How do we collaborate with them? That's what's going to help with the mitigation. We educate the public, we get them to have meaningful discussions, and hopefully we'll take the feedback from that and develop the plan moving forward. So there are risks and there are a lot of challenges, but with public communication and good communication, hopefully we can mitigate some of those challenges. Project schedule. Currently, the schedule in your document is aligned to be completed in June 2025. That was the original schedule. When we hired our consultant, that was the schedule that we had for them, and we currently still show that as our schedule. And we're keeping it that way so that we can kind of move fast through our initial processes. A lot of data analysis that we have to do. We'll be coming back over the next 2-3 months and sharing with you all the information we've learned about the land capacity analysis, and that's a big challenge in this update. So we want to try and move that part of the update as fast as possible, because we know that coordinating with Island County, and there's a lot of details, there's a lot of challenges in the details of how we capture our allocation. And that could lead to big policy discussions. And so we want to make sure that we have time to vet those. And so we want to try and shoot for June 2025. However, we know that the county has already shifted their schedule to December 2025. And we have that extension, that 6-month extension. So we shoot for June, and then we maybe slow it down to see where the county is, and we try and work with the county, and hopefully we and the county can adopt our documents around the same time in a meaningful manner that's consistent with each other. So that's the hope. So our schedule will change slightly, but currently we're shooting for June 2025. I have the schedule in the packet. It's just it's not a very detailed schedule, but it breaks down most of the major tasks. As you can see, we are working on a lot of the documents as we speak, and we'll get into even the draft comprehensive plan as early as August and September. So a lot of work to be done, and we'll try to keep things moving along. The community engagement plan, this is a big part of the comprehensive plan. This is very key in our update, and it's going to help us get to our final document that hopefully is consistent with the county. So how do we get the community engaged? How do we inform them of what's happening? And so these are some of the various methods we do that. Project website. This is already on the City of Oak Harbor's website. We have some of these existing documents. We have frequently asked questions kind of a page so that people can go and read about the project. And as we get more and more information, we'll populate that. So anybody interested in the comprehensive plan update can go to the website and get this information. So that's one way. And of course, we're going to do surveys. And actually, I think in our contract with the consultants, we're going to have 2 surveys, which is kind of nice. We're going to do some surveys. We're going to do a survey at the beginning, try and collect some information, and then potentially a survey on the draft comprehensive plan. And that's like to circle. We collect information. What would you like to see? What is your current assessment? We take all of that information, create it into a draft plan. We put the draft plan out, and maybe we have a survey with that, asking the public if we've captured the information. Are we going in the right direction? This is how we're hoping to go, and maybe have some options there. So 2 surveys potentially. We have an advisory committee. We call them the OAKPAC, Oak Harbor Planning Advisory Committee. And this is a committee that's going to be fairly large. Probably many agencies, county, the state, the tribes, various local interest groups, the NAS Whidbey, and so we're trying to be as inclusive as possible for this advisory committee. And if you look at the schedule, they're designed to meet only 2 or 3 times throughout the entire process. So they are really at a 30,000-foot level. They'll get the information first, so to speak. It's the front seat. You get the information. Because they're from various agencies, we're hoping that they take that information back to their agencies and share with their agencies, saying the City of Oak Harbor is planning this. Is there anything that we should give them as feedback, or we should have input? So that's what the advisory committee is kind of designed to do. We'll also have community events. Over the summer, we're hoping to have some booths at some of the public events, and when the survey comes out, we'll have to kind of just be in the community promoting people to take the surveys. I can say that we're already designing the survey, and we're talking about details on how to get that information out, how to get involved, how to get the public involved. And I think one of the strategies we're using is, if you want more information, it seems like a lot of people will be interested in this topic. You can see the parks topic getting so much of interest. Comprehensive plan and growth-related topics have a lot of interest in the community, and I'm sure that the community wants that. So we're going to try and collect email information at the beginning. Are you interested? If you're interested, let us know, and we'll push documents to you as they come. So there'll be a way for people who are really interested to know, to be informed without having to come to the website. Updates will be released and so on. So we're going to collect that information, so people wanting to give their information, wanting to receive information, can do so in that manner. So we're trying to design our surveys and public input process so that people who are interested in it can get that information without having to look for it. So again, written comments, people can always comment, like comments from on the park code. We'll always take comments and share that with all the commissions. So that's one way they can inform the commissions on their thoughts and vision for the community. And of course, the Planning Commission, City Council. This is a land use document, the comprehensive plan. And so the Planning Commission has a big role in it, and we'll be discussing a lot of the policies here. And it's a public meeting, and if there's topic of interest, I'm sure you'll get a lot of public interest. And knowing that growth and UGA expansion is a big topic, I would expect some people at these meetings to provide input And so I think that would be a good way to have public discussion about it. So these are some of the ways we're hoping to keep the public involved and informed. Here's a quick look at the engagement strategies. As mentioned, there's the website, which is going to be available throughout the project. The OACPAC, the advisory committee, meet about 3 to 4 times. Community survey, and then we have the climate-related element. That's a new element, so we got to have public input on that, and so we'll have specific survey questions related to that. We'll have to, they'll generate engagement reports, which will be posted on the website and shared with the commission. And of course, as I mentioned, the planning commission meetings and city council meetings will also be key in that update process. So these are the different ways that we would like to inform, involve, and collaborate with the public. We'll use the project website, e-news, social media. As I mentioned, interested people in the comp plan can provide us email so that we can keep giving them information. The surveys, interviews, and community meetings is a way for citizens to get involved in that. And then to collaborate, we have the committees and focus groups. So we have the OACPAC, which is sort of a committee, and then we have several focus groups that are identified within the community engagement plan to talk about very specific issues, and they'll be, more focused on issues, and therefore you can have an in-depth conversation with them as opposed to just a large meeting where you're just sharing information. So we're trying to involve as many strategies and different formats of meetings to collect information. Some of the goals that are that we hope to achieve through our engagement process is to get a good representation of Oak Harbor's interest, and again, to balance state law and local interest, make sure that we have the vision aligned with what the public wants, with what the city wants, to collect the data on current conditions and how they impact residents' quality of life. We want to understand the key priorities from different stakeholder groups. We want to reach out to vulnerable population, hard to reach groups, underserved communities. We want to make sure we try and get to them. We're talking about it, how to get surveys out to them, how to get information out to them, how to get involved in public groups, present information and receive information. We're talking about how to go to the various, like whether it's Rotary or Chamber of Commerce, when they have their meetings, to go and chat with them so that they know what the city is doing and they can provide input. And we want to build informed participants. People participating in the comp plan, the more they know, the more they can share and provide meaningful input. So that's what we want to do with this comp plan. We want to build long-lasting relationship with the stakeholders. We are, the county, public utilities, the state, NAS Whidbey. There's a lot of agencies that have interest here, and through this process, hopefully, we'll build long-term relationship and continue to work on issues that are not very specifically addressed with this update. We know there's a lot of issues. We'll capture as much as we can, but we know this is an ongoing process and that there'll be more work to do after this plan is adopted. So we want to build those relationships so that we can continue working with them. The community engagement plan also has the roles and responsibilities for the update process. City staff will include the consultants as well. Our job is to compile the data. We'll facilitate the planning process. We'll, have these meetings organized. We don't necessarily drive the agenda, but we coordinate and we bring people together so that they can bring ideas. And we just analyze the information. Most of the policies are reviewed and discussed by the Planning Commission and City Council. And so we expect the Planning Commission and the City Council to do most of the heavy lifting in terms of policy discussions or any major changes in our policies. And of course, the community will be involved throughout the process, again, through surveys or written comments, polls, social media, etc. So So that's what I have in the document. As I mentioned, we are already in the process of designing the survey. We are looking at the existing capacity. Our consultants have put together some initial documents, and we're in the, in the process of getting all of this done and in front of you. So in the background, we are working hard to bring all this information ahead in front of you over the next 3 months. It's going to be a lot of information we have, and David will talk a little bit about this, about joint meetings with the Planning Commission and the City Council, joint meeting between the City Council and the County Commissioners. We have all of these aligned for September, so August is going to be a lot of data analysis, at least for us as staff, to try and collect all that information and get it out to the public and to the commissions for discussion. So we are working on that as we speak, but wanted to get these documents out to you in front because this is kind of the overall kind of the framework for the comprehensive plan. So anyway, with that, I will turn it back to the Planning Commission, and if you have any questions, comments, or anything you would like to know about the process of the comp plan, be happy to share that information with you.
Okay, very good, thank you very much. Okay, questions?
So this is not a group per se, and it's certainly not on the lists, any of them that I've seen. But the people that live and work within the central development area, I'm talking about the triangle, are not even aware that that's being talked about. And when I've mentioned it, it has gone very, very badly. They are not the kind of people, as far as I can tell, that are going to read the newspaper and hear about the survey or sign up for the website or anything like that. I don't know if I'm talking door to door handing out surveys or what, but I don't think it would be good if we get through this whole process and then they find out later and erupt.
Yes, we will. Yes, this is in public engagement is challenging, and to make sure that we reach the people that are most impacted by the plan is important. So we have all the various methodologies that are involved, and I totally understand that some people would not like to share their emails or get updates and so on. And so we're hoping that they come to Planning Commission or City Council or talk to their City Council members if they're frustrated. I mean, one way or the other, if they can pass the message along, somebody will bring it to us. We're hoping that's just like how you have mentioned that people talking to you if they are not interested in coming to the website or may not even answer surveys. I know people who don't do surveys. But they still have an opinion. It's hard to get their input directly into the plan. So we will do our best to reach them. We did talk about surveys going out through the utility billing. We know that it goes to the property owners. If you're a renter, you probably don't get that. So we'll try and have community events. We talked about having a booth at the grocery store. To try to get as people walking in. So we're trying various methods to give a chance to these people to know that something is going on and it's going to affect them and they should be interested. But I think we also expect the community to be involved and to be interested because it's their community. So there's responsibilities on both sides, I think. As a city, we take the responsibility to try and get information as much as possible out to them. But as a community member, if they're interested, they have to find a way to try and get it. And we want to find and make sure that there are no obstacles in them getting their thoughts and communication to us. And so we're trying our best not to provide any barriers, keep the communication open. So we still need to hear from them one way or the other. But we'll do our best to reach them. But thank you for that. Yeah, absolutely.
Any other questions in the room?
I have a question.
Go for it.
Hi, CAC. who is driving? Is this a state, a county, or city directive for the climate change part? Who's driving the outreach on the climate change?
The requirement to add the climate element is by the state. That was a House bill that was passed, that the community shall include a climate resilience element into their comprehensive plan. It can either be a separate element, or it can be incorporated into the various other elements in various capacities. I think, so to answer your question, that's a state requirement. And so we have got grants from the Department of Commerce to update the climate element very specifically. We got $150,000 for that. So we did get help from the state because they're mandating it to do that. So it's basically a state requirement, and both the county and the city are mandated to do that, and so we collaborate with the county to do that.
So that was kind of my thought process, because climate change is much more macro than micro, and you know, Oak Harbor's small enough that it's not necessarily going to have regions. I'd like to recommend to City Council maybe go back to the state and have them define what is a overly burdened community member, or what is the community, you know, what community members are disproportionately affected. Because I'm concerned that we as a city could spend a significant amount of money trying to identify stakeholders, specifically those at risk from climate change, when that's a very micro thing. That really should be driven, if it's done properly and effectively, it really should be driven by the state down to the county, down to the municipality, and then reported back up that chain. These are the number of residents we have that meet your criteria, and this is the outreach we're going to do to them. Because a lot of times, climate change reporting and climate change activities gets very disjointed, because if we try to do this at the micro level, people who own beachfront property will be disproportionately affected by climate change long before people that live inland, but they're generally more socioeconomically healthy, and so the impacts to them might not be what the state is looking for. I really would hate to see us as a city spinning our wheels trying to meet this requirement, and my recommendation would be that the city council or the mayor with the county commissioners go back to the state and really request that they give defined definitions of what data and what members of our community they want engaged on this, because it is a macro, not a micro level issue.
Yes, totally understand the line of thinking there, that we by ourselves cannot solve the climate issues. And so it is a state requirement, and as I understand it, and as we get into more discussions, I think the Planning Commission will be informed more about the process and the tools that we'll be using for our climate update. But I think the state has a prescribed way for all communities and counties on how they should update this climate element, and they have provided the tools to each of the cities and the counties. And so if we follow the process and do our work for our community, and if every other community does their part in providing some of this information, I think this is just the first step in the climate resilience element. And I think with more and more updates in the future, we'll get more and more information, but this is just the first start. And I think the state will learn a lot from this update in terms of how they want to keep updating this. So I think we're not trying to solve the problem, the whole problem entirely with this one update. I think it's just the first step. So the state is requiring all the communities to use very specific tools and to capture very specific information so that we're all collecting the same information. And so then this information and data is then submitted to the state at the state level, and I think they will assess that data, and then we will probably, with the next major update, get more information and more requirements and updates to fine tune it. So I think this is going to be an ongoing process. This is not something that we're hoping that we can solve with this one update. It's just the start. And because the state is doing it, we are hoping that they are doing it in a coordinated fashion and having requirements of the city and the counties to use similar tools so that we can all be coordinated. I think that's the idea. So we're not hoping to do anything at the micro level to solve issues, but what we'll be doing, I think, is to document a lot of the things that the state wants so that they can get the information, what's happening at the state level, and that can lead to more policies and changes in future updates.
I'm not concerned about the tools. Tools have been out for, 30 years now. I'm more concerned about the definition of the demographics, right? Oak Harbor's not big enough necessarily to say that a certain sector of land would be less affected by widespread climate change. So this clearly is going to be a demographic thing, probably a socioeconomic. So what is the state defining as an overburdened community member, right? Because if they just throw out that term, overburdened community member, and they leave it up to Oak Harbor and Langley and Clinton and Anacortes to decide what that means, the tools are going to be the same, but the data's not going to be as clean as it needs to be to make comprehensive change.
We'll definitely look into that. I don't know what an overburdened community is on top of my head, but that's a good question. I think that's a good definition to find out. Now we can find out more information on that and bring it forward to our next meeting. That's a great question. I'm not sure what an overburdened community means in terms of climate change, so that'll be good information for us to find out for sure.
Very good. Okay.
Thank you, Keck.
Any other questions? Okay. I do have one question. So in terms of how this update relates to the existing comprehensive plan, are you expecting, or like is staff expecting that this will be a pretty significant rewrite of those policies, or do you think that we're in a place where we're going to be looking at fine-tuning, tweaking, making small changes to those existing ones?
Good question. Not entirely sure yet. Now, we did raise the question with the consultants on whether we should rewrite, reorganize our entire plan. And I think we've decided that to keep it, at least the organization by elements. So currently we have, the state requires certain mandatory elements to be in your comp plan, land use and capital facilities, transportation plan. Those are some of the requirements that a community needs to have in the comprehensive plan. Other elements are optional. We have urban design element, we have urban growth element, we have NAS WIDBE, we have a special element for that. So we have more elements than the state requires us to have. And some communities take their policies and, if you will, reshuffle them to reflect how the community wants them. So they'll have something like, let's say, wellness and health. And it can have anything from transportation to land use under that, So you can categorize your policies differently. And we asked the question whether we should do that, whether we should take our existing comprehensive plan, which is organized element by element by element, which is like a technical document, and should we change it to some other format? And we decided not to do that with this element because that would be a big rewrite and a reshuffling of it. It is also not easy to track and make changes. So when the state comes out with their changes, they will have specific directions for certain elements, and it's easier if these documents policies are arranged in a way that we can address them and we can change them. If they're dispersed in many places, when we change one policy, we may overlook another policy. And so we decided that we were going to keep all the elements as they are. So what you'll see with this update is maybe a reformatting or redesigning, but we'll probably have all of the same elements. A climate element will be added. And I think our consultants are reviewing our existing comprehensive plan. The Department of Commerce has given a checklist saying, okay, you need to review your existing comp plan and make sure that you're meeting all these House bill requirements and so on. If not, where's the gap? How are you going to address it? And so the consultants are looking at our current comprehensive plan and filling out that list. And when we get that back, we'll know where the gaps are. If we have a large gap, then I would say some elements would be rewritten to make sure that our policies align. I have a feeling that with all the updates we've done, we've kept up with the state requirements. So most of our policies are fairly up to date, except for the recent House bills that have been passed in the last 2-3 years. So I expect us to just revise some of our policies and not entirely rewrite. So you'll have a familiar document that comes in front of you, and we will identify the changes. So you'll be able to see what the existing document is, where the changes are happening, and then you can have meaningful discussion at where the changes are happening. So that's kind of what I expect.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, go for it.
So, when we saw the transportation plan, and it went up to city council, I'm guessing it was approved?
The active transportation plan is a subset of the transportation plan. So our transportation plan that deals with the road networks and so on has not been updated since 2016. The active transportation plan is a small segment of how we overlay the active transportation or our existing transportation network. So don't want to confuse the active transportation plan with the transportation plan.
What is it that goes in as an element?
So the transportation plan. So our street networks are, we categorize our streets as arterials, collectors, all of those, and then they have policies and so on and so forth. That has to be updated. The transportation element of a comprehensive plan captures the policies in that plan.
So have we seen that plan?
No, we haven't. Because it hasn't been updated since 2016, and I'm not entirely sure. So when we hired our consultants, we hired the consultants to update our comprehensive plan, which has many of these elements. We knew that the transportation element was getting to its end of its lifetime, but the transportation plan needs its own work. Yeah, it's hard to do the transportation plans, policies, as we're doing the comp plan, which has all of these other issues. And so we have budgeted money in the CIP. I think our engineering department has. They take the lead on the transportation plan to try and tackle this plan in the next couple of years. So we'll update our transportation element as much as possible to reflect any state changes, but we'll be coming shortly after to look at the transportation plan or some of the other plans. Like the park plan hasn't been updated since 2019. We'll have to come back with that as well. So some of these elements will stay the same till those plans are updated.
So the plan that we saw is the active transportation plan,
Yes.
and who sees it?
In the sense of,
Well, I mean, that's a really extensive piece of work.
Yes.
Looked at it, what, 2 or 3 times now?
yes,
And I'm sure the city council
yes,
knows it,
yes.
but beyond that,
So what that is incorporated into our comprehensive plan, and what that means is we now have a blueprint for some corridors in our city for active transportation, and now we can do 2 things. We can go after funding to improve very specific corridors, and so we have a plan, and we say we need $3 million to improve this corridor between here and here. And so we have a plan, and we can go after funding. So that's one thing that we can use that document for. So it's, we can also use that document when we have other projects. So a water line being laid on Pioneer Way or something. And so they're going to dig it up. How are they going to put the pavement back? Look at the active transportation plan. We have a plan that says when you put it back, you put it in this format. So that's what that plan will do. And so it's a layer, it's a sub-element of the transportation plan. And so that's how that, that plan works with the transportation plan.
Okay, last call for questions, comments.
Right.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, our third discussion action presentation item is scheduling of special meetings and workshops. So, Mr. Cool, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you, Commissioners. Not really a presentation tonight, just a chance to review the upcoming schedule. We have a number of meetings coming up, basically designed to help with the comprehensive plan. As a side note, the Central Development Area was mentioned by Commissioner Gore tonight, and the Central Development Area is still moving forward, but the comprehensive plan is the big document, and the Central Development Area is just going to be a sub-element of that. In the same way, the active transportation plan is a sub-element of the transportation plan. The CDA will come along later this fall. And so you'll see more active participation in the community. You'll see us talking to people in the Central Development Area and developing plans and images for that. So it's the same methodology as what you heard about tonight. These upcoming meetings, in particular, your next meeting on August 27th will be a good one. I think that the land capacity analysis, at least the draft, will be ready for us at that time, and we'll be able to start looking at that information. The land capacity analysis, very briefly, is just like an inventory of all the land that you have available to build on or to develop, and the number of units that are on that land now, and any future units that you can put on that. So that's coming up very soon on the 27th, and then the City Council will hear it right after that, the next day. So I think the plan was to have the consultants get all this ready for you in time to have conversations about it, because next, the Planning Commission will meet, well, I shouldn't say next, the City Council will meet with the county commissioners on September 10th, and they'll be talking back and forth on just this topic, the land capacity, as well as comprehensive planning, the urban growth area, all those kinds of conversations. So that'll be on September 10th, and so certainly encourage you to watch that if you have time. Then the next big meeting that we have set up is your normal meeting on the fourth Tuesday of September, and you'll get more information on land capacity, urban growth area, comprehensive planning to prepare you, because the very next day you'll have a chance to do what Commissioner Gore has been asking for, and that's have a dialogue or a conversation with the City Council. And so the format is it's going to be at a regular City Council workshop right after your normal meeting the day before, and it's only going to be 1 hour. So the first part will just be an overview by staff, very short, just to set the tone, and then it's your turn. The Planning Commission will have a dialogue with the City Council, and you'll have a chance to say what's on your mind and ask questions too. And then the City Council will respond to your questions and your comments. All this happens in 1 hour. So it's designed to give you a chance to tell us what you think. So that's again the day right after your September regular meeting. And those are usually held in the afternoon. So we're cramming a lot of information at you, so thank you for participating. I know it's a key thing of what we do. Comprehensive planning is probably the biggest thing that the Planning Commission touches. So certainly we're available for questions at any time. You want to pick up the phone and talk to us, we're here, and we can answer any scheduling questions or any particular topics. and try and help you through it. So, I don't know what's happening in October, probably the normal stuff, so, but thank you.
Very good. Any questions? Comments?
So there was discussion about city council hours changing.
Yes,
Is that happening, and is it going to have an effect on us?
the hours that the council are going to contemplate will be discussed tomorrow. And my sense of it is they're going to move the meetings from 6 to 5:30. At least I think that's their direction. And they've also talked about changing the workshop times from 2 to maybe 1 or 1:30, but I don't think that that is set in stone yet. So we'll have to wait and see what they do tomorrow. As far as you're concerned, I would think we could change the times to 5:30 if that's convenient, or for Ryan, maybe that's inconvenient. So we could certainly talk about that. We'll put that on a future agenda to talk about it.
Chair Plumley, do you have any questions for this?
Not at this time. Thank you.
Okay, sounds good. All right, final call, questions? Okay. Sounds good. So we will move on to our sixth agenda item, which is member comments. So I will open it up for anyone who has any comments. We'll start in the room. Okay, hearing none. Chair Plumley,
So I have one, just one.
go for it.
Just congratulate Commissioner Engelbrecht on being selected for the vice chair. So, and thank you for stepping up and doing that.
Thank you. Okay. Very good. Okay. Our next scheduled meeting is August 27th, 2024, potentially at 5:30, but we'll figure that out. No, it'll be at 6. Okay, just kidding. Okay. Next scheduled meeting, August 27th, 2024. And do we need a motion to adjourn, or can we just do it?
I think you can just say we're adjourned.
Okay, sounds good. The Tuesday, July 23rd, Oak Harbor Planning Commission meeting is adjourned at 7:06. Thank you all for coming.